So I could have sworn that I already recorded this and uploaded it, but apparently I was wrong because it's not on my channel. Um, Goosebumps Horrorland, Creep from the Deep by RL Stine, and this is the second book in the HorrorLand series. So, enter HorrorLand. And this is the ticket that they were given. So, admit 1, where nightmares come true, and that's the Horrorland theme park. The invitation. Dear Billy and Sheena Deep, you are in deep trouble now. Don't scream, but you have won a free week-long stay at Horrorland theme park, the scariest place on earth. Bring your parents, bring your swimsuits and your diving gear, and be sure to bring some shark food, like your hands and feet. We've enclosed free passes to our Hungry Crocs piggyback ride, where having fun is a snap. And you'll enjoy a visit to the Batburn Cafe. Join our thirsty vampires there for a warm drink. You don't need a ticket for the 20-mile swim for your life ride. We know you'll find it breathtaking. Your luxury room at the Stagger Inn offers 24-hour tomb service. Oops, of course we mean room service. Come be our guest. We look forward to scaring you. Please RSVP to Die Quickly Guest Relations. Chapter 1. My sister Sheena and I were thrilled. Sheena was so excited about going to Horrorland, she was nice to me for a whole week. A lot of our friends had been there, and they told us all about it. They said it was the most awesome park on earth. Sheena and I spent the morning just walking around the park, taking it all in. Believe it or not, the first thing I wanted to do was go on the bottomless canoe ride. I know, Sheena and I just had a horrifying time on the water. I guess that's one reason we were so happy to be in a place where the scares weren't real. But we never made it to the bottomless canoe. After lunch, we trotted through the hotel lobby and saw two very upset girls at the front desk. They were about our age. Both were tall and thin with coppery hair. One wore a pale green t-shirt over white tennis shorts. The other wore a short red and yellow sundress. But that's impossible, the girl in the sundress cried. She pounded her hand on the front desk. The horror behind the desk shrugged. Go figure. That's what you told us last time, the girl cried. It has to be a mistake. Sheena and I stopped to watch. What was their problem? The girls stepped away from the desk. One of them was trembling. The other one tried to comfort her. Of course it's a mistake, she said. Sheena can never resist trouble. She pulled me over to the two girls. What's wrong? She asked. They both jumped. I guess we startled them. My parents are missing, the one in the sundress said. No big deal, Sheena said. Our parents are missing too. They both gasped. Yeah, I added. Who needs parents? I meant it as a joke, trying to get them to lighten up, but they didn't laugh. They told us their names, Brittany Crosby and Molly Malloy. Your parents are missing too? For real? Brittany asked. Nothing here is real, I said. We led them farther away from the dude behind the front desk. Don't be upset, Sheena said. Our family checked in this morning. Outside my room, I heard some horrors talking in the hall. They said they always sneak the parents away, to a hotel of their own. They did it to us, I said. We went to our parents' room and they were gone. Molly shook her head. You mean it's a joke? She asked. And then the horrors lie and say your parents checked out and went home without you? Sheena nodded. They do it to all the kids. It's one of their favorite scares. It's like everything else here. A big fake. Brittany let out a sigh. I knew my parents wouldn't just leave, she said. You've never been here before? I asked. Brittany and Molly shook their heads. Brittany got a special invitation, Molly said. We were totally psyched. Us too, I said. I could see Brittany was still worrying about something. My dad left his new digital camera in their room, she said. She pulled it out of her bag. Can't you just return it when you see him? I asked. You don't understand, Brittany said. He left a picture in it. It was crazy. A picture of Slappy. Who? Sheena and I both asked at once. A ventriloquist dummy, Molly said. From back home, Brittany added. No way that picture could be in the camera. No way Slappy could be here in Horrorland. I stared at them. Brittany was trembling. Molly looked really upset too. A ventriloquist dummy? What's the big deal? Can we see it? Sheena asked. Show us. Again, Brittany glanced at Molly. They were definitely stressed. I figured there was something about this dummy they weren't telling us. Brittany raised the camera and clicked it on. She pressed a button and squinted at the view screen. Weird, she muttered. Molly grabbed Brittany's arm. What's wrong? Brittany pressed the button again, then again. The photo is gone, she said. No, wait. She let out a gasp. She held the camera up to her friend. I don't believe it. Molly, look. Sheena and I edged up behind Molly so we could see the photo too. I squinted at the little screen, and there we were in the photo. Brittany, Molly, Sheena, and me. And the dummy was standing right behind us. Chapter 2. How did you take this picture of us? Sheena asked Brittany. The camera was in your bag. Sheena had her face all scrunched up, the way she does when she's puzzled. Brittany didn't answer. She stared at the screen. She was breathing really hard. She looked totally frightened. She glanced all around the lobby as if that dummy could be hiding in any corner. Imagine being afraid of an old ventriloquist dummy. Finally, Molly took the camera from her. It must be some kind of HorrorLand trick, she said softly. Forget about it. We came here to have fun. You got that right, I said. Here we are in the most awesome theme park on Earth. Let's go out and go crazy. I think I'm already going crazy, Brittany muttered. She shuddered. Then she tucked the camera into her bag. You're right. It's some kind of joke. Let's try to have some fun. The two girls followed Sheena and me out into the park. It was a sunny, breezy day. Zombie Plaza was crowded with families hurrying in all directions. I heard screams and laughter all around. A horror walked by carrying a bunch of helium balloons, all black. His purple tail bounced up and down as he struggled to hold on to the long strings in the strong gusts of wind. How about a balloon? He asked, stepping in front of us. What color would you like? Black? Before we could answer, a blast of wind sent him stumbling away. A female horror came by wearing a black and white signboard. The big letters on the front read, Fun, Thrills, the Free Fall Bungee Ride. The sign on her back read, One-way tickets only. She stopped and called to the four of us. Want to try it? It doesn't hurt at all until you land. We laughed. I could see Brittany and Molly were starting to cheer up. My friend Jason back home said we should try the bottomless canoe ride, Brittany said. He said you get really wet. Sheena and I were just talking about that ride, I said. Brittany pointed across the plaza. It's over there on the other side of Quicksand Beach. Yo, Quicksand Beach, yes, I cried. I pumped my fists in the air. We've got to try that first. Think they have a real quicksand? Sheena gave me a shove. Haven't you had enough sand traps? There's no such thing as enough, I said. I took off, running toward the big sign that read Quicksand Beach, sink or sink. As we ran closer, I could see kids up to their waist in the sand. They were screaming and frantically struggling to climb out. I knew it had to be totally awesome. We stepped up to the entrance booth. Sheena held back. Billy, you're totally nuts. I can't believe you want to do this after what we went through with that sand pit. This time it's just a joke, I replied. A horror leaned out of the booth. He asked our shoe sizes. Then he pulled out 4 pairs of blue rubber shoes and set them on the counter. These are for walking on the quicksand, he said. Of course, you won't walk very far. Molly tugged nervously at a strand of her hair. What happens when we sink? She asked. He handed her a pair of shoes. If you go under, hold your breath as long as you can, he said. Sometimes it helps. Chapter 3. We stepped out onto the wet yellow sand. Molly grabbed my arm. He was joking, right? Everything here is a joke, remember? I said. I took 5 or 6 steps. The rubber soles made a squish, squish, squish sound. Clumps of sand stuck to the shoes. Quicksand Beach was a large square area of sand facing a tiny green pond. It was kind of like a big sandbox. The beach was fenced off on 3 sides, to keep innocent people from wandering onto it, I guessed. It was soft and mushy. It's hard to balance. Molly said. She had her arms stuck out at her sides, like she was on a tightrope. It's like walking on pudding, she said. It's kind of quiet here, Brittany said. I gazed around. The kids we saw earlier were gone. We were the only ones on the beach now. Squish, squish. Whoa! I let out a shout as I felt myself start to sink. The shoes were stuck in the mucky wet sand. In seconds, my ankles disappeared. Then the sand rose up like a goopy ocean wave over my calves. Help! Sheena twisted and squirmed, but she started to sink too. It took only a few seconds for her knees to disappear. She was dropping fast. I turned my head and saw Brittany and Molly waving their arms frantically. They'd already sunk to their waists. Are we having fun yet? Sheena asked. I laughed. It feels kind of weird, doesn't it? It's so lumpy and wet. I didn't expect it to be so hot. I don't like this, Molly cried. It's like sinking in vomit. Thanks for sharing that, I groaned. I saw a human hand poking out from below the surface. I had to study it twice. It looked so real. Sheena slapped my shoulder and pointed. Check those out, she said. I followed her gaze and saw yellow bones, skeletons of small animals trapped in the quicksand. Those skeletons, Sheena said, they look like rat skeletons. Totally fake, I said, but whoa. I sank to my armpits in the mucky sand. I had to raise my arms high to keep them above the surface. I tried to kick my legs, tried to raise my knees, but I had sunk too deep. Every move I made forced me to sink lower. Help! I heard Brittany's shrill cry. Isn't anyone going to rescue us? Yeah, who's going to pull us out? Molly's voice shook. I felt myself drop. The sand rose up to my chin. A sharp, sour smell invaded my nostrils. Billy, help! Sheena whispered. This isn't fun. We're gonna go under. Isn't anyone watching us? Molly sputtered. I started to answer and got a mouthful of sticky wet sand. When I finished coughing and choking, I heard the voices, low voices, nearby. Low voices of men chanting in unison. The bones they crack, the bones they creep, the men come alive in the briny deep. You ended our death, you ended our sleep, the men come alive in the briny deep. No, I heard Sheena moan beside me. I tried to turn to her, but my face was sinking into the wet sand. My brain whirred. I knew Captain Ben's dead pirates couldn't be here in Horrorland. No way. So how could we hear the same frightening chant, the same low voices? I sucked in a deep breath and held it. The hot sand covered my nose. Everything went black as my head sank under the surface. Can't see, can't breathe. And the chanting voices were all I could hear.